What's up, everybody? You watching On Air Nick John podcast here on YouTube and Facebook. I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, and also somebody who sometimes, I get to see if I'm grocery shopping. I am here with the man, CW Anderson. How you doing, brother?
I'm great, Nick, man. How hard is it to call me CW?
Yeah, it's hard because, you Chris, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I like that because, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. You're one of my favorite wrestlers. And it's nice for me because you're right down the street,
Yeah. Yeah. We grew up together.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. I'm actually closer to your brother's age, of course, but, knowing your guys my entire life.
Absolutely, man. So we're going to jump on into it.
All right.
I got a lot of questions for you today, and you are an open book. So we're gonna go there. What actually made you want to be a professional wrestler?
When I was growing up, I couldn't stand wrestling. I didn't like it at all. Hated it, actually. And I don't have to tell you, in this area, the hotbed was National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA. So my brother, who you're good friends with, we were, I want to say I was 13 or 14, 12, 13 years old, something like that. And Kevin's 3 years younger than I am. And one Saturday morning, because in this area, Saturday morning on Channel 5, NWA Wrestling would come on. Mm-hmm. He sat me down one day because I didn't watch it at all. He watched it every time. And he's like, Chris, just sit down with me, just one show. Watch wrestling with me. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it anymore. I just want you to watch it. As brothers, he wanted to bond with me. So I'm like, yeah, I'll sit down and watch with you. This show actually was the match. It's on YouTube. It's the Russians, Ivan Koloff, and Crusher Khrushchev against the Rock and Roll Express. The Rock and Roll Express, that was their debut match, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that Marty Jannetty?
No, not Midnight Rockers, but Rock and Roll. Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton. They debuted at the NWA, and Ivan and Crusher were tag team champions, the NWA tag team champions, and they ended up beating them. That match is on YouTube. It was July something, 1985 or 4. And the finish was Ricky rolled up Uncle Ivan, and he's not calling him Uncle Ivan when we get back to us, because my future tag partner, he was trained by Ivan, and everybody called him Uncle Ivan because we were all close to him. So he rolled up Uncle Ivan, 1, 2, 3, and I remember my brother and I jumping around. We were kids, the Americans had just beat the Russians, it's in the mid 80s. So we were jumping around screaming, and I was hooked. Never thought I would get into wrestling ever, because you probably know this, in this area, I was a baseball prodigy. I was drafted out of high school. I went to a high school down the road in Kenley called North Johnston High School. I was supposed to go to Triple S in this area, because if you went to the elementary school in Corinth Holders, which I did, you automatically went to Triple S. Well, the baseball program.
We had to drive 30 minutes to get to high school, right?
Yes. Yeah. Mine was like 20. The baseball program at Triple S did not compare to North Johnston. So the coach, and I want to say it was Gary Carter, brothers with Scott Carter. And these people have no idea who these people are, but you and I do. So got me to go to North Johnston because of my baseball. So drafted out of high school as a catcher because I could throw it at 90 miles an hour from my knees. I had a cannon from my knees. That's the reason my arm only extends to 45 degrees now. But my mom talked me out of it. She said, go to college. The pros will always be there. I was ignorant, stupid, because I listened to my mom. And there's nothing wrong with listening to your mom, but I should have went to the pros because college would already been there. And ended up blowing my arm out in college. So one day I was working for a land surveying company in Zebulon and saw a buddy of mine at McDonald's. He was wrestling, doing the independent stuff. And he got me to go to a show with him at the Zebulon Armory. Okay. His name was Jimmy Liverman, God rest his soul. Got to the show, got there, rolled around with him, and got hooked. Now, I did a little bit when I was 16 and 17 in the backyard at a friend of ours, Chris Luss' house. So we did a little backyard stuff in a ring there, but it never amounted to anything. But this guy was doing the independent stuff. So I got there, rolled around, and got hooked. And it just kind of snowballed. I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but it just kind of snowballed from there, getting into wrestling.
Yo, that's what's up, man. And I'm like, okay, like this is random, but when I was growing up, man, I was like so we had a lot of cows behind our house and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we put up 4x4 posts. Now we're kids, we're in high school at this point, right? We put four posts up and put some rings around it, and we were out there like trying to Hurricane Rana each other. Yo, bro, we could have broke each other's necks.
Yeah, we've done it off the trampoline. We've done it off. We did it when I was young. We did it off mattresses. Actually, there was an independent guy wrestling when we were like 16. His name was Jerry Kennett. He actually helps run the haunted estates over here.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Jerry,
good people over there.
Yeah. Jerry was doing that, and he had a ring because he was an independent wrestler at the time, and we did it when we were like 16, 17, and my baseball coach made me stop. He's like, you're gonna play pro ball. You don't need to be getting hurt doing this silly stuff. So, and then here I am doing this silly stuff 33 years later.
Well, that silly stuff inspires a lot of people. So, and I would tell you this, I don't think it's silly. I think you're awesome. What position did you play in baseball?
I was a catcher.
That's right.
Yeah, I started out at second base, but I had such a strong arm. They put me behind the plate one day. I remember when it happened, there was a ball field right down the road. A lot of people played softball. And we played Little League. It was called 231. It's not there anymore, but it was 231 ballpark. And I got behind the plate, and then it just kind of spiraled because my arm, I had an average white boy speed. I had a decent bat, strong, but I could pick people off first, second, and third. I remember my brother still tells the story that we were playing in Wilmington, and I picked the guy off first base, and he had no idea my brother was holding the ball at first base until he turned and looked. That's how quick the ball could get down there. But I was a catcher, so I loved it because it was, a catcher, you got to be a thinker, and you got to be kind of smart.
That's right. First off, I want to tell you this, man. I saw you not that long ago, and you look really, really great. As opposed to and I hope you do not get mad at me when I say this, but when you were wrestling with ECW, you look like you're in better shape now.
I 100% am. I'm almost 60 pounds lighter than what I was at ECW.
No, don't suplex me when you see me. I was just giving you a compliment.
No, I get that. And I tell other people how fat I used to be at ECW. And the one story I tell is I wrestled Kid Cash on a pay-per-view, and I think it was Heat Wave. In Minneapolis, it was Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was a place called the Rave. Well, that Monday, I'm at a Play It Again Sports in Raleigh, and I'm putting a treadmill into my truck because I had realized I had put on a lot of weight. And the phone rings, and I picked it up, and it was Tommy Dreamer. And in classic Tommy Dreamer voice, he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm putting a treadmill." It was actually an elliptical machine in my truck. He goes, "Good. Paul wanted me to call you and tell you were getting too fat. You need to lose weight."
And by Paul, you talking about Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman, yeah.
That is and Paul's now in WWE with.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been there. He's been there ever since ECW folded. So yeah, Paul was big on me. He was going to give me a push, and he wanted me to lose weight. So all the years up until I got to 280 at one time. Then I held all the years I lived and worked in Japan. I was about 230, 240. And then 10 years ago or so, I was around 220. That's where I held for the longest time. And now I'm 190 pounds.
And you look fantastic, my friend. But the thing I want to get at is this, and I don't want to stay on this too long, but okay, so I'm running shows and I'm doing my music stuff and I'm doing stuff. One of the hardest things for me to do is diet. What is something that made you go, hey, I'm gonna just start doing this. I'm gonna eat clean. I'm gonna do this. What made you get there?
My wife and I were already eating clean. We actually did a year fasting where we would fast for 18 hours and eat for 6. We did that for at least 9 to 10 months. And that worked. And a lot of it was for the autophagy, for the brain function, because, in this business of 33 years, I've got 23 concussions. So with 23 concussions, I knew that dementia, all these ailments were going to hit me later in life, possibly because of all my brain injury. So I got to where I would play with Rubik's Cubes. I could solve a Rubik's Cube in under 2 minutes now. Probably can't now because I haven't played with it in so long, but I got to one point then. But then we got on the diet, and last September, I found out that the guy I was tagging with, and we'll get into him, Brock Anderson, he and I we're getting a shot at go to TNA. So we want to get in the best shape we could. Well, one of my former students who's one of my best friends. He was the guy that performed the nuptials at my marriage to Brittany a couple years ago. Lodi, he was Raven's sign guy in the flock in WCW. He's big into peptides, so he got me on peptides, which was one called MOTS-c, one retatrutide, which is a GLP-3, a BPC, a growth hormone peptide, and it got me down to 195 pounds. It dropped the weight off me quickly, but also it was the diet that I'm doing 220 grams of protein, taking in a little over 2,000 calories. And my wife and I are strict, like we're perfect. Once, maybe twice a week, we'll cheat. And I'm like you, being on the road all the time with wrestling and you're traveling with your music, it's so hard to eat clean. And the best thing we found was going to Sheetz. If we're up in North Virginia, we go to Wawa. And around here, it's Sheetz. And you can get a bar, you can get a protein shake, you can get their quesadillas. You can pretty much eat about as clean as you can on the road without physically going to a McDonald's and ordering grilled chicken and stuff like that. So eating on the road is extremely hard. And when I travel without her and I'm flying to places like, the Los Angeles, Texas, things like that, that's extremely hard to do because you don't have access to a car usually. So us going to restaurants and grabbing stuff on the go has been extremely hard, especially in the airport. You can't eat clean in the airport without spending a crap ton of money.
Right. Yeah. You're 100% right on that.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, okay, like, so I went from like playing guitar and singing at my house and like outside where nobody's listening to, getting a deal and doing stuff. What does that look like for somebody that is a wrestler? Somebody like, is there a, I guess my question would be, is there a moment where you're like, yo, I'm getting pulled up into the big leagues?
The night I got my
okay
job.
Question?
Yeah. There's a few things with that because it's all when it happens, it's almost too good to be true, and it really doesn't set in. It's still kind of new to you. Like the day I got my job at ECW was an accident. I wasn't even supposed to be at the show. One of my good friends drugged me to the show in Georgia where he had a tryout, and I just rode along because the night before he and I had wrestled the Public Enemy that were at ECW. They were at ECW at the time, and end up getting thrown in the ring by one of my close friends now. At the time, I didn't know him, Nova, Mike Bucci, and Paul Heyman happened to be sitting there with the Dudleys and Taz and watching the tryouts, and Paul liked what he saw, got me back in the ring, got me backstage, put me on the show that night, and said, be at this place next week. Welcome to ECW. So that was kind of a surreal moment. And it wasn't until one of my matches, I don't know if it was the ECW arena, to where I got a standing ovation for one of my matches, that, oh crap, I've made it. That's that moment when you're wrestling in front of X amount of thousands of people, and this area like I do. We come from a community called EMET, which is time spelled backwards. And at the time, literally, there was not that many people that live here. Since this road that I lived on got paved, it's gone crazy busy. But from a crossroads community to wrestling in front of thousands of people is surreal. And you really can't put it into words. It's my ex-wife's daughter, I got her in the ring one time to manage a couple of my buddies that she was friends with. And I told her, you will never do a drug like the rush you get performing in front of people.
That's facts.
There's no alcohol. There's nothing you can shoot up. There's nothing you can put in your mouth. After the match, she came back and her teeth were chattering because the adrenaline was running through her so much. And it's a high. You can't even put it into words that high. It usually lasts for hours after a show for me.
First off, you are my favorite wrestler. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Okay. And I had Buff Bagwell on the show maybe a year or so ago, and he talked about looking smooth sometimes when you come back in. Explain that to me. Does that just mean that? What does that mean?
There's a couple of ways Buff could have meant it. If you were talking about it in the ring being smooth, or if you're talking about the look you have, which is why
does that mean like you maybe went too hard in the paint on the weekend and now you looked a little bit out of shape? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Explain this to me.
With Buff is he's such a great guy for one. I think the world of Buff, and if anybody knows Buff Bagwell, he lost his leg, maybe a year ago or so, and has just totally he's accepted, moved on. And I saw him not too long ago. As far as looking smooth, he's always been in amazing shape. He's had abs. He's been in, and that's the one thing. That's one of the reasons we shave our bodies. That's one of the reasons we tan. Arn Anderson made a quote one time that fat looks better tanned. I'm on a peptide right now. I'm on a peptide right now called Melatonin 2 to where I don't tan, and it tans me. I get so dark. I got so dark. I was getting so dark that my lips were turning blue, and I was having to back off because it was making me so dark. I saw Arn weekend before last, and he said I look mahogany. But that's another reason. When you're on TV, shaved, some people put oil on, some people just do this thing called hot stuff. We don't do that much anymore, but that brings the red out of it.
What is that? What is that exactly?
It's got this niacin in it. It kind of burns, but it literally smells like burning cinnamon when you put it on you. And all it does, it makes you vascular. It brings your veins closer to the top of your skin, which gives you that smooth look. Again, that's why we shave. That's why we tan. That's some of us put oil on. I put water on because when those lights hit you, makes you look larger than life. It makes you look different. That's why a lot of people, when they recognize me out in the streets, Walmart, and places like that, they'll tell me, you look different. You don't look like the CW from TV. And I'm not in gear. I'm in regular gear. Either got a ball cap on.
Good. You look great, brother.
I'm trying. It's hard work at 55, almost 56. It's harder now than what it used to be. Even I didn't even try them, but you could lose weight. But that smooth look is what Buff is talking about. The slick, chisel look like, you were sculpted out of clay.
Walk me through this. Are you guys talking backstage? Are you guys figuring out how to do each move with each other? Tell me what's going on, brother. Because that match is amazing.
In the beginning, my very first, this is kind of a long process. Tommy and I were close friends at ECW, and because the traveling clique I rode with was myself, Jack Victory, Louis Dangerously, who was Sign Guy Dudley, and Steve Carino. That was my clique, along with Tommy Dreamer and Francine, because they were dating. So we all rode together. So I got to spend time with Tommy. Tommy was the booker, helped run ECW.
Now, do you mind if I stop you 1 second real quick? Okay. When you say you rode together, now when I think of that, now, and maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but I have band members that I ride around show to show to, and we put a show on. Is that similar?
The exact same.
Okay, keep going, brother.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm on the same headspace. Keep going.
At the time, me being from North Carolina, they being from Jersey and Philly, we'd all fly into the place. We'd hop in the car together, and then we'd ride from the town. Then we'd go to our hotel and go to the next town. And that was it was called a loop. That was a continuous thing. So after the first show, my clique, Jack, Lou, Steve, Tommy, Franny, we'd go grab dinner. This is before Tommy and I were feuding. Go grab dinner, go to the hotel, get up, rinse, repeat. So my very first pay-per-view was a dark match. It's on YouTube. And my buddy Bill Wiles, that was my tag partner, put it on there. Tommy grabs me before we go out. It's my very first pay-per-view. And it's kind of a long story, but it culminates everything. He grabs me and goes, I want you to go out there and steal the show. I know you're the dark match. I want you to go out there and tear ass. Not only are you my friend, but you're a hell of a wrestler. I want you to stick it up the ass of those people at WCW, because I was at WCW Power Plant when I got hired at ECW, that says you weren't good enough to be a wrestler. Leaning on that match, going further, right before Tommy and our feud started, I wrestled Kid Cash at November to Remember 2000 in Chicago. After the match, Tommy walked by me. Great match, C-Dub. You're a hell of a wrestler. I can't wait to put you over on pay-per-view. And what putting you over means he's going to let me beat him. The very next pay-per-view was Massacre on 34th Street in New York. And I beat him, spine bustering him through a table that was upside down with the legs sticking out. That's how I beat him. So that led up to our I Quit match. That match happened January 7th, 2001, which was luckily my 30th birthday. And it's the match I'm infamous for, the most known for. So day of the match, one of my students who I got at ECW, he got himself there. I just opened the door. Chili Willie and Lou, we all were riding from Jersey up to New York because it was at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Tommy calls me and he goes, "There's no barbed wire on the truck, the ring truck." The finish he had come up with was he was going to put barbed wire across my eyes, pull it, make me say I quit. That was going to be the finish.
That's hard.
Yeah,
that's hard, bro.
That was rough.
Okay, yo, that's hard. Hey, yo, keep going.
And it wasn't fake barbed wire; it was real barbed wire.
Yeah.
So we get there. Lou and Chili and I walk around Manhattan trying to find barbed wire. We couldn't find it. So the show gets ready to start. Now, with your matches, you sit down with the guy you're working and you plan it out. And it's not a script. You sit there and you talk to him. There's kind of a formula you follow, and we call it like a Popeye cartoon, where Popeye's the good guy, Bluto's the bad guy. I was the bad guy at the time. Dreamer was the big baby face, the good guy. So he wins in the beginning. I win during the middle of the match, and then we go back and forth. When Popeye gets his spinach, him and Bluto fight back and forth, and then Bluto always wins. Popeye always wins and gets olive oil, which is the prize. So that's kind of how you're following your matches. So the pay-per-view starts. I forgot what match Tommy and I, but we just started putting our match together. We're talking through spots, and I had told one of the ring guys that we had found barbed wire on somebody's gate downtown. We tell him exactly where it is. He runs to go get it. He cuts it off the guy's thing, comes back, has it in a trash bag. He says, "I got your barbed wire, CW." He pulls it out, and it's awesome. It's freaking razor wire. It's not barbed wire. And
that's a bigger problem.
It was bent, rusted, all balled up. And I said, "Tommy, you're not putting that across my face." He goes, "Let's just let you spine buster on me." So if you ever watch the match, we had cut it into a perfect circle, and I spine buster him on the match, during the match. So he tells me beforehand if we have a good match, because I was starting to getting over at that. Getting over means when the fans start accepting you and start wanting you more and start cheering for you, even though I was a bad guy. I was starting to get over at that time, and there was a venture where they were going to turn me babyface. He says, "If we have a good match, I'm going to shake your hand. If not, well, that's typical Tommy." I had been hearing up till that match, I Quit match is very hard to do. Only one I Quit match has been successful, and that's Magnum Tia and Tully Blanchard's. So I had watched that match on repeat the week before, prepping for it. So after the match, I put him over, which means he takes and we're up on the top rope, and he has me on his shoulders, and he does what's called a Death Valley driver. At ECW, it was called a Spicoli driver after Louis Spicoli. Puts me through a table, which shatters the table, and the band around the table, which is a rubber band, hard plastic rubber, he takes and wraps it across my face and pulls it. And on the finish, you hear me try to say "I quit," and I have to say it again because he pulls so hard, I lose my breath because it breaks the cartilage in my nose here. We stand up, he shakes my hand, and you hear it on the old videos. But there's 3,000 people in the Hammerstein Ballroom, and they're chanting CF and dub. They're on their feet, giving me a standing ovation. You even see me walking back, looking at the people because they're chanting my name for that match. One of the guys,
they should, because that's an amazing match.
It was one. They still talk about that match as one of the greatest I Quit matches today, and one I hang my hat on. Tommy's still one of my closest friends. I just saw him in December. TNA, when Brock and I did the loop at TNA in Texas, and I owe Tommy a lot. I owe Paul Heyman a lot for giving me a job at ECW and trusting me, and Tommy for putting me over and making me a household name.
What's up, everyone? You watch your On Air with Nick Drive a podcast here on YouTube. Please like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and you'll be notified of all my upcoming video releases.